Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Let's Play Kerbal Space Program, beta than ever, 0.90. We'll resuming our game here. When we last left off, we completed a mission that gave us a pretty decent amount of funds, some good reputation, and a bunch of science. So first stop is into the science research and development area to spend this stuff. Flight control. I am going to research aerodynamic nose cone, the winglet, and radial decoupler, which will give us a bunch of stability. Bloop. And then we have 43.5, so which is not enough to pick up any of these. So we will go ahead and pick up general rocketry. All of these things are useful, so all the money going out of my coffers. $8,000 funds to purchase those parts. 6,200 funds to purchase those parts. We're back down to our starting wealth. But we have a lot more parts ready to go. That's fine. Okay. We don't really have the capability of making airplanes. Actually, you know what we should do? Here, let's go over here to this one and start. I'm not sure how much reputation I have, but we can have one active strategy. Fundraising campaign. Takes 5% of reputation gains. If I put this at our max, which is 25%, takes 25% of reputation gains and yields 7.5 funds for each 1 unit of reputation. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And our reputation is almost all wiped out, but that's okay. We should be doing all right. So from now on, because of that strategy we've activated, we are going to be getting a little bit more money and a little bit less reputation. So back to the contracts. Testing this parachute in flight over Kerbal. This is basically just to activate the stage while we're in this situation. Re-entry interface happens at about 30,000 meters. I'm going to try for that one, because that's worth 7,000 funds. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up the big granddaddy for this particular flight, which is Orbit Kerbal. Okay, now, if I load up, for reference, S-Stage 3, call it S-Stage 4, this ship was capable of reaching space and then some. It didn't quite get into orbit, but I wonder how... Oh, we have radial stuff now, so we can do things quite different. So I'm going to put on a third one of these. This liquid fuel engine. Now that we have these radial mount guys here, we have some really cool stuff that we can do with boosters. And into aerodynamics, I know a lot of this stuff is hidden behind my portrait. But it actually gives us a pretty rocket ship shaped rocket. So one thing I am going to do is I'm going to separate out these booster stages into 2 separate stages. So these ones turn on first, which means they need to be first to decouple. Okay. When those decouple, these guys turn on, and then they decouple, and we're still in our main rocket stage. Then all that decouples, and we end up with this guy, for this guy, for all of the things with that guy. If I throw these winglets on, I will have more atmospheric stability in flight. Which I think I'm going to want, since I may or may not have a pilot on board. I think for 4, though, we do need to have Jebediah Kerman, who is a pilot, do this. I'm going to send Jebediah Kerman into orbit. And now that we have the radial decouplers, we can actually do some other stuff that's kind of useful. We can stick on girder segments. Like so. And then that gives us a more sort of stable. Oops, not that one. This one. A more stable thing. So that's looking much more like a rocket that we would use, you know. Let's grab these guys and move them down just a smidge so everything's nice and balanced. Or at least as balanced as it can be. Move that up here. Everything fires off. These guys drop off. Second booster stage. They disassemble Johnny 5. Then we're up to our final stage and the old parachutes. Okay. Double check our crew. Jebediah Kerman. Oh no! What? We have way too many parts. And it's too heavy. Oh my gosh. It's still too heavy. That's hilarious. Well, all we're doing is going into space. We don't need goo canisters. And, oh my goodness, what do I do? Since we're not taking goo canisters, all of our science is going to be contained in this guy, which means we really don't need that. We just need this. And not this. That might actually give us room for one more tank of gas. At least a partial tank of gas. Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay, we need to start saving up some money to yeah. Alright, double check my staging. That's all good. This is just re-entry. So, I forgot that we were doing a test with these parachutes. And I pulled them off when I didn't need to. Our mass is exactly 18 tons. Away with you. And I want to do this a slightly different way anyway. those particular boosters were offering just a bit too much thrust when working in tandem. So we're going to go back to this, the old tall candle here. Structural. It's the ridiculously tall candle build. Yeah. One more try at number 4. Oop, those go parachutes, yes. Okay, try number 3. Start climbing the mountain. That's a little better. Remember what I was talking about terminal velocity in the previous episode? That's what I'm working against. If we start going too fast, I'm wasting fuel. So I'm trying to balance that against the need to accelerate against gravity. I'm actually pretty happy with this profile so far. And booster stage number 2 continues to launch us upward and onward. I don't know how much throttle I'm going to need on this thing. The next stage. More. So I want to get up to 200 meters per second pretty quickly if I can now. So I'm going full throttle up here. See, this contract's going on. Even if I don't make it into orbit, I could, I got a cash advance, that's why I have so much money. You know, I might be able to do that contract. Okay, I'm going to start backing off the throttle here. I'm going plenty fast now. So we're nearing the top of this hypothetical mountain. If I click here, I can switch over to orbit mode, and I want to start tipping myself over so that I'm using some of my energy not only climbing the mountain, but now some of my energy shooting that cannonball sideways. So that's what's going on here. We're coming out of the ever thinning atmosphere. It gets thinner and thinner every moment as we thrust on. M key switches us to map mode. Click on this to bring up my controls, and we can start seeing how our orbit is developing. Once this gets this apoapsis, that's the highest point in your orbit. So I see this mountain that we're building. We're basically building this mountain right now through energy. Once that gets to 70,000 meters, that is essentially the beginning of space. So our spacecraft, and it's now officially a spacecraft, will eventually make it into space. Now the question is, does it have enough juice to make it into orbit? And we never did make this get fast enough for that one, so we'll see if we can't do that during re-entry. Or test it some other time. So we just have to wait until we're closer to this apoapsis here. I think I'll start it when the indicator. So this little guy right here is the prograde marker. That's essentially with respect to your orbit, the direction your ship is traveling. So as soon as that crosses at 15 degrees, I'm going to go ahead and throttle up and see if we can't get ourselves into a full orbit. Okay, let's try it now. And I'll keep an eye on my fuel. No, that's a little fast. So what I'm trying to do is I want to get myself pointed pretty much nearly exactly sideways. In fact, this is the horizon right here. And I want to do it in such a way that I'm really close to this apoapsis, this highest point in my little launch mountain that I made to go sideways. We're chewing through our fuel pretty quickly, but we are making progress on establishing an actual orbit. pointing directly horizontally now. We're almost there. I'm going to start throttling down. Alright, look at this. Contract complete. The mission controllers confirmed that a stable order has been achieved. Nicely done. Giving us a huge cash injection, a bunch of science injection. Now would be an awesome time to do a whole bunch of EVAs, but I can't. But I can talk about these new indicators that we have here. So this is our orbit. It's around Kerbal. There's a little flag AP and this little flag PE. They stand for apoapsis and periapsis respectively. The apoapsis is the highest point away in your orbit. So this is an apoapsis of 77,000 meters, which means we're 77,000 meters or 77 kilometers above the surface at this point. And we coast on around here to the periapsis, which is at 70,000 meters or 70 kilometers. This is the lowest point in your orbit, which is to say we're 70,000 above ground there. So now, I'm going to see what I can do as far as science goes. I can get a crew report. That's not going to be worth anything. I can't EVA. So all the science gains we're getting are going to be from returning this mission. But Jeb's going to get some experience. We're going to get some money and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to warp time and fast forward to around here. Well, I'll go ahead and burn my rockets for a re-entry, which should put us into the ocean over there. So hang tight. Alright, we're at a point where I'm going to go ahead and point myself to the retrograde marker. So we see those little indicators on the compass. That one is the prograde marker. These ones are radial in and radial out, or radial and anti-radial. Here it is. This is the retrograde marker. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to slow my rocket down by pointing retrograde, which is kind of visual here. You can see we're moving across the desert and we're sort of pointing backwards. Hey, there's the moon over there. Hi, moon. And I'm going to apply some thrust that way. So what I want to do now is I want to get this periapsis over here down to a point where it's going to cause us to re-enter. So if I bring this down to basically the surface, about halfway through, we're going to start hitting re-entry interface, probably around here, and hopefully splash down in the ocean over there. And that's all we needed. So the rest is up to gravity, really. There's not much else we can do. I am going to face north like this and get rid of this dead weight that I no longer need. Boop. A whole lot of rocket that is pretty useless and would just weigh us down and slow us down is now gone. We're now on to SAS. I prematurely activated those parachutes. It occurs to me that I'm not going to be able to complete this mission now. Oh well. Or at least I probably won't be able to complete the mission. We'll see. Alright, as you can see, our craft is beginning to heat up for re-entry. So we're going to get ourselves to the re-entry interface here. And then we'll see what happens with these parachutes, actually. I'm curious. Because we're almost at the ideal altitude right now. We just need to get ourselves down to the right speed. I wonder if that'll be happening automatically. Nope, they deployed prematurely. That's what I thought was going to happen. Okay, well, our ship is slowing down, and we might hit that land. We might splash into the water. I guess we'll have to see when we get there, so hang tight. Okay, any second now, and bam, the parachutes open up, bringing us down to a nice, graceful landing in the water. So I'll see you guys at splashdown. Alright, We're just 20 meters from splashdown, and we can recover our vessel and all that good stuff. There it is. Safely in the water after a clean orbit, so we'll recover and wrap up. The only science we got from the mission was recovery of a vessel returned from Kerbal orbit, which was 10 science. But completing that contract did give us a whole bunch more science to work with. We only recovered the one part, which is with 1,000 funds. But the cash injection from completing the mission gave us, we're up to 95,000 funds plus a bit. And Jebediah Kerbal has advanced to level 1, and we will take a look at what that means in episode 5. So until next time, I will say keep flying and stay shiny. Goodbye!